Thank you. Quick, before we were being line streamed, I got the sneeze out of the way.
Ha.
So this is the Sun Valley Communications Committee. This is a special meeting called to order at 2:08 p.m. There's a land acknowledgement and anti-racism statement available on the Sun Valley website. For the roll call, we have Morgan, Andy, and Sandy. Are there any additions to the agenda before I ask for a motion to approve it? It's here, it was sent, but it's in front of you. I'm sharing the screen.
I didn't see anything that I would change.
Andy, you okay with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Morgan's gonna make a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I second that motion. Did
Okay.
that come through, me seconding? Just making sure.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, it'll be in red in a second. There we go. So the business review, we wanted to have this kind of a quick meeting to see, as far as the candidate forum, the lessons learned. I put some statistics here about there were 5 cycles and then a short vote for me because, and I took some metrics, which are displayed here, that I tracked who was on site and online, and there's a total on 10/9 of 54 YouTube views at that point. So as we plan for Saturday, 10 to 12, there's a Zoom only meeting. And there will be a moderator, Joanne, and there will be a transcriber taking the Q&A submissions for questions, writing them down and passing them to the moderator in a bowl so that they can then be picked up. I think while Joanne is saying the ground rules, I will try to capture and transcribe all the questions that everybody's initially putting in, and then I'll just keep transcribing as the first questions are being asked.
So,
It's
if I could,
function.
can I speak for a moment, Sam? I've received some questions via email by a community member who asked if they could be submitted in advance. And I wonder if we should mention that in the e-blast so that other people are motivated to share them in advance. If I think that seems like a helpful idea for the two of us who are going to be managing the logistics of the event, but I wanted to get input from this committee to that decision.
I would be in favor, if we explain to them in the e-blast, submit them by whatever you want, sending you an email with the subject line saying candidate forum question. So that's how you'll search for them. Morgan, Andy, what do you think?
I'm fine with whatever. I don't care at all.
No, I think if one person is able to submit their questions early, then everybody should be able to.
Okay. Are there any other things from lessons learned?
I would say that the second day of the forum should be advertised on the first day, and that all of this should have happened, 2 weeks before it did.
Two weeks before event. Okay, any other lessons? Andy, any comments?
I thought the event went really well. I mean, honestly, we ran out of questions, but we had a long time to answer them. That's kind of obviously we were prepared for that, thankfully. Thank you, Joanne. I thought it was a good event.
So next year, we might recommend to the committee to submit even more questions, 30 questions or something, so we don't have to repeat. Would that be a recommendation?
And maybe some more canned questions if we've got them, and obviously more lead time on the announcement of when it'll be and stuff like that.
Okay. I thought the facility was fine
Mhm.
and the mics worked. And, you know, it was my first time managing microphones, so I would say I'd like 10 minutes training. Joanne
You
was there to
did-
save me.
You did well.
Oh, too many buttons. Okay, so I appreciate the lessons learned. The blast will go out today. As far as my withdrawing, I'll check if my daughter is on those Facebook chains where she can reiterate that I have withdrawn.
Yeah, so just to underscore what Morgan said earlier, Sandy, and also Andy,
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you were here when that came up. SVCA and all SVCA staff are completely neutral in all elections. And in fact, most of the, 99.9% of the work of the election is handled by the N&E committee. So it's not a set of responsibilities that's managed by SVCA operational staff. We stand ready to support the committee, of course, and do some things along the way to facilitate their work. But we're bound by the rules and the bylaws, and also the processes as outlined in the N&E manual. And it is not in our purview to tell the community how they should vote. And it is perceived that since names are on the ballot, votes can be cast for them. We can't make an announcement to say, don't vote for candidate A or candidate B because, they've withdrawn, or because, they're not willing to take up the role. Like that is well outside of the purview of what we can do appropriately. So that sort of announcement cannot be forthcoming from SVCA.
But am I allowed to say that? Can I ask you as moderator to give me a minute to make an announcement?
Of course. I just wanted you to know why SVCA has been silent and will continue to be so on that matter.
Okay. Okay. So anything else in the candidate forum, or we're moving on to trunk or treat? Colleen has arrived.
Colleen is muted.
Is there any lessons learned, Colleen, from the candidate forum? Otherwise, we will move on to trunk or treat.
I would just like to I think that we need to just make an announcement of the candidates who have withdrawn to clarify.
I have to make it.
Yes. So prior to that, we just want to make sure that is part of the forum, and maybe even starts it off. That might already be your plan. Forgive me for joining in late. But I just wanted to make sure that clarification, that's a good opportunity to make it.
We'll start out, and I will request, as Joanne draws people attention to start the meeting, I'll request if I can make an announcement, and I'll say it at that point in time. Okay, if we're done with that one, the trunk or treat, are there any other roles that we need to do for the communications committee as far as that event goes? We've got the announcements out. They've got the proper logo on them. I see them all over the place at the mailboxes. I think we're in good shape.
I want to, can I talk about that really quick? I took pictures of the visibility. I think that the time and effort it takes to put those flyers on the side of a mailbox, I mean, I think it's okay, but in terms of like the amount of people who are able to see it, the sandwich board is by far draws more attention. It's larger. It can be seen in different intersections. And I have not seen that sandwich board out. But that would be a good thing to do. And I also have, and I'm going to send Joanne, there are sleeves rather than the plastic that's loose over those sandwich boards, which make the visibility more difficult. I have found sleeves that are poster size, so they can be reused. They're transparent. They will protect the contents, and they will make it look more clean and be more visible. As well as I've kind of checked out the Velcro that's used on those, because I've had to stop a couple times, and if I see one of those, I just get out and fix it. But there's industrial strength Velcro that is meant for outdoor use. I also have a link to purchasing that for the sandwich boards. So I think between the sleeves for visibility and kind of a clean look, and then this industrial strength outdoor Velcro, it's just going to make that a better presentation. And I'm going to suggest the efforts go into the sandwich boards before, and maybe even in place of, the side of the mailboxes, particularly if we're putting those near mailbox areas. But yeah, I just took some pictures so you can see how small it is, and it kind of blends in with other flyers for lost cats and, you know, other things. So it's really minimally effective, in my opinion.
And I like it at my mailbox because I have to get out of the car and walk past the piece of paper, and I turn and look, and I know there's a missing cat, but I think both are appropriate. I don't know, Joanne, as far as your budget or limit to number of sandwich signs that can be simultaneously out there.
There are some challenges with the sandwich boards. They're often vandalized or stolen. They're expensive. I appreciate your researches into making them more effective in terms of the Velcro and the sleeves. I also have done a little bit of research, and I've seen that other merchants merchants in town who use sandwich board ads for the sidewalks have their ads or their materials printed on plasticized card. So that is also something that I've made a note to look into in terms of pricing. We would have to plan ahead to have them printed elsewhere. It wouldn't be feasible for us to have that sort of equipment here. Yeah, I think taking steps to make the sandwich board signs more effective is a good idea. And I will also get pricing on additional signs that could be placed at additional locations. But for right now, our practice has been to do the gates, and that's what we have. That's the number of boards we have supports that, and it would not support putting them at all the mailbox locations. Yeah, we have a smaller laminator. The large laminators are very expensive. That's why I was thinking about just having the signs printed professionally for the sandwich boards. While it requires some lead time, it would lead to a professional presentation for sure.
Okay, good talk, good research ahead. So based on that, we might be able for the art and craft fair to have additional signs or have them printed on the outside because we have enough lead time. That's the 19th of November.
Mm-hmm. And we can print, and the plan was to print trunk or treat signs. Colleen, if you can send me the information about the sleeves, I can see about getting those in. And then we would provision the boards with that improved protection for the paper sign that goes in there for trunk or treat while we're swapping out the media.
but we should be on board for the art and craft fair for sure.
Yes, no doubt.
So do we have anything in terms of the community's, asking about, and this is just having my ear on social medias in various groups, including an arts and crafts group for Social Sudden Valley, which I saw Sudden Valley Recreation join. Thank you for joining. When will the applicants know if they have a spot and can pay for that spot, rent the table, et cetera, just so we have like confirmation? I know I was also an applicant and haven't gotten anything back yet. So I just wanted to know if there was like a time frame we could communicate to folks when that will be solidified.
Yes, a bulk email was sent out to everyone on the rec department's list of people who had indicated an interest in being a vendor at the holiday fair. I'm not sure if you were on that list, Colleen. I did enter it myself, but I just don't remember. I typed about 45 names.
And that would have been the inquiry that went to info@. That was what was on the ad. So you're saying all the names that in the emails that went to info@Sudden Valley, as was on the flyer, should have gotten that.
Yes, and rec was putting together that list. They got the info and also people stopping into the rec center or reaching out directly to Alex with an inquiry. They were also on that list. So it was right around 40 some odd names, and that went out on Tuesday evening. And it had included a link to the Sudden Valley website where the registration form has been uploaded. So the link takes you to the page where the registration form is available, and then that form can be downloaded. And people were instructed to return a completed form either as a scan attached to an email or to just simply bring it in, since we can't accept the registration until we also have payment. So that's the set of actions that has been completed.
Great.
So-
Yeah, I do see it. And everyone who might be tuning in, you may want to check if it went into spam, because mine did end up in that spam, and I do see it. And it looks like you can print it, like you said, or scan it in and send it back to the email. Is that true? What you just
Yeah, that's true. But since we can't accept the registration, air quotes, obviously we'll keep it if you send it to us, but you're not considered registered until you've paid.
Is there some kind of confirmation process for people so they know that, or I suppose paying is your confirmation? Is that what you're saying?
So far, many people came in yesterday and today to drop off forms and checks.
Oh,
And
okay.
those people are being asked for their preferences for where their table is located. Some people, well, they help, everyone has a different idea about where they'd like to be.
Right.
And that's being noted, and they're taking a look at the layout that we have planned. So it hasn't been an issue because we haven't received any by email. If we do receive any by email, we will reach out on a one-by-one basis and thank them and ask them what their plan is for bringing in payment, because the registration slip or form alone will not finalize a registration. We have to have the payment in hand before we can do that. So
Okay.
yes, we will reach out.
So the chats are all us. Okay, so would you say a very small number, or most people have walked in between yesterday and today? Is it?
I saw a number of transactions being completed, and I'm certainly not standing at the front door. So I would
Right.
estimate that probably around 10 or so vendors have committed at this point. So
Okay.
it looks like it'll be a successful event. Many people have called with questions about the raffle basket option that's being added this year. And so there's been a large amount of interest. We are fully ready to accept registrations and answer questions. There's been a process articulated. We've advertised through the e-blast or through the bulk email. We'll continue to include the holiday fair on the e-blast. It'll go out again Thursday evening. We can direct people in that to the form on the website, and we'll, continue to share information with people as they call in. You may have noticed that in all of our postings now, we're directing people to call the main number for member services, as opposed to calling the rec department directly or the admin office directly. So this concept of a unified member services location here in the Welcome Center will be a one-stop shop, and any question can be answered by the Welcome Center staff. We have representation from the rec department here, as well as from the admin member services staff. So we are ready to accommodate anyone that walks in with any sort of inquiry.
That is absolutely amazing. And I think we have all been waiting for that for quite some time. And to know that any question we might have can be addressed should we stop in to the building is awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on art and craft fair?
Will we have food trucks? Anybody been invited to be outside?
Tino's has agreed to sell pizza by the slice, so they'll
Okay.
be present on site.
Are there usually more food options? Again, I've only ever been to one.
We're requiring any vendors, any food vendors, to show us their certificates of insurance, and that has discouraged some from participating in our events in the past. So I will need to get with Alex to ask about this instance. That's just a common sense precaution.
So if we know of a particular food truck that has insurance, we could direct them to contact Sudden Valley and say, hey, we're interested in this event. We have insurance. Can we apply to participate?
Certainly.
Okay.
Call the main number.
Only if they're tasty, though, Colleen.
Of course.
I thought the administration was supposed to be neutral on things like, whether things are
Food.
tasty or not. Come on.
Well, I did
Be
not
neutral on a
provide
lot
a
of things, but
definition
not
of-
food, Andy.
You're hilarious.
Okay, breakfast with Santa. This has a date right now
12:10.
at, I'm gonna be obsessed at times now, 12:10 from 9 to 12 or something.
I do not know, but
Okay.
breakfast is traditionally in the mornings.
Okay. Look, oh,
Obviously, confirming the details for Breakfast with Santa and finalizing an approved ad is, those are two things that are action items for us here, so that we don't get behind and can begin advertising Breakfast with Santa. I would imagine at or before the time the holiday fair begins, which is right before Thanksgiving. So does that timing seem appropriate to everyone?
Yes.
are there, I know there was a photographer. Is that part of the process to identify the photographer?
I know the event planners are down in rec are working on that event. And the final plan has not been submitted to me, nor has a budget, but that is in the works.
Okay. Colleen, your hand is up.
I just having volunteered last year, not on any particular committee for Breakfast with Santa. Just want to throw out if we'll be asking for volunteers. It was just for like setup and breakdown, which kind of was extensive because they make this beautiful little seating area generally. And so I know it might be different people involved this year, but are we, will we ask for volunteers to help like set up and take down? There's a lot of trash. Just something to think about.
Yeah, the rec department has very reasonable documentation on all of the events that happened last year in terms of what was done, who attended, how did things go. And then at the time they captured recommendations for the next year. So there's quite a good foundation laid out to build on for this year's event.
The end of term deliverables, I just want to talk about quickly. I don't want to make it a big thing, but again, I don't know how a committee usually wraps up. So I just want to make sure that in the next couple meetings, we do recommendations, lessons learned, and as far as deliverables, the documentation that exists about the website, I know Josh and Andy have some pieces to pull together. I had made a couple documents for Josh about the use cases so that when you review the RFP before you put it out, that the use cases are all covered. What are the documents you need, Joanne, to be able to put something out for bid?
Well, it depends on the approach used. Often it becomes more productive to give a general outline for something, for a project as large as our website, to give a general outline and set parameters and enter into a relationship with a company that can provide all of the work, but doesn't necessarily give us a fixed price bid. That way, I've seen fixed price website bids go horribly awry because you get a set number of pages, but not necessarily an overall design or implementation that's appropriate. So I think that there should be discussion at the board level regarding how we want to structure that deal, to not only get a good website, but to have a plan for supporting that website into the future that doesn't rely on administrative staff who may or may not be web savvy, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, postings can be made, but I don't think it's realistic to ask administrative staff who have many other calls on their time and need to have other skill sets to also be, a webmaster or something like that. It's just above and beyond, in my opinion. So yes, we need to have the direction that's already been developed, but there also needs to be that discussion regarding how the project is to be managed and how the website will be managed into the future as well. So that's my recommendation. And it seems like that's outside. Yeah, I'm sorry, Connie. It's just, it seems like that's outside the scope of this committee. This committee is recommending what the website needs to be, sort of setting a vision and giving some very particular feedback into that vision so that it's not, just arm waving. There's some real specifics to grab onto, but I'm interested in hearing people who disagree with me, but I think that the board itself needs to have a philosophy on how to approach that relationship and what level of investment is appropriate for it.
Josh had explained that it was budgeted for this year, so the monies are there. I don't know what they are exactly, but what we had discussed and just was that I think what you're saying, that piece of as we adjust, because all websites are going to need adjustments, as we say, oh, we want to add this, or oh, this, even communications committees who make suggestions, like tying in something in the contract for whomever, when we look for bids, that there is kind of there's regular maintenance that they do, or that we budget in for that for next year. The other thing to that, I just want to say, I think for next year's board, and as a recommendation from the communications committee, I do think we need to ask the board to consider possibly adding a communications position on staff, because it really has just become its own, and in most large entities such as SVCA, it is its own position professionally. People recruit for communications positions. And so I think it's grown to the point where, as you said, like staff as they exist right now, it's not necessarily part of their job description to update websites, to make all of these things could be wrapped into one position. So just putting forward for next year, the idea that perhaps we need to actually have a professional, an employee, a position budgeted for communication specifically.
Yeah. And to be clear, it is the responsibility and in the job descriptions for administrative staff to post items of information to the website. That's different than being a webmaster. And I would also ask that in the notes that you slightly amend the statement. SVCA ops not planning to be webmaster, not currently staffed to include a webmaster, which is a different skill set. And I don't know that we need to have it internally, but that's the idea. Like if a change needs to be made, how is that handled? I mean, there are entire teams that as Andy can well attest, that work on large, complicated websites. Our current website, while obviously subject to some criticism, includes a huge set of content and makes that content available, and managing all of that content in a way that's accessible and understandable is quite a task. So. And I'll give you a specific example. Someone calls and says, a builder, giving us their 48 hours of notice about a road closure. We can post that. An accident happens to close down Lake Whatcom Boulevard. We can easily post that. It's a no-brainer. Someone says, Joanne, can you change the design of this page to ensure that this very important announcement about the transfer fee program always stays at the top of the announcements? No, I can't. And that's the difference. Yes, we interact with the website. Yes, we're happy to support it, but we don't have the skill set to on the fly change it or amend it in some way to accommodate current need.
So it's possible to post information. Are things like announcement, they're structured, right? There's a type of thing that is an announcement and it goes to the, to the announcements list, right?
Precisely. And there are a set of predetermined templates that you can use, or you can just make a blank sort of announcement entry. There's a lot of different modules that have been assembled in that WordPress site. WordPress
Right.
is the system on which our site is managed.
So there's some plugins installed, but there's not like a full range of things that let you do kind of anything you want with them. And that would be obviously complicated. So is there a way to like tell us what, in the future, kind of list out what kind of structured content types there are, like announcements or, plugins available, just so I don't have a good grasp of the full like capabilities of WordPress as it's configured for us.
Yes, it would be possible to prepare a report and potentially a short demonstration for that at a
That'd be
time in the
fantastic.
future.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll back up here, that, short demo and discussion. With the board. Okay. Last time we worked on that communications channels draft, and we can work on that again as a deliverable at the end. I can't see, do we have any participants? We have 0 attendees right now.
Correct.
So as far as homeowner comments, can't really do that.
Oh, could I throw another question out there for Joanne? I'll assume that's a yes. Is there a development environment, or does our hosting just have the production website?
Just the production site, which is why I'm so hesitant to make on-the-fly changes, Andy.
Oh, no, yeah, no, say no more, say no more. My goodness.
Yeah, we can use the preview function. That doesn't sound like a testing environment to me, though.
No, ma'am, no, no.
Okay. So that's all that I have. Are there any other things that have come up in the discussion? Not, somebody can make a motion to close the meeting.
Like to motion we adjourn.
Adjourn. Didn't want to spell that. Who wants to second it?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Morgan. Our next meeting, I believe, is scheduled for next Wednesday at 5. Did we want to have that? That's our regularly scheduled monthly. It's fine with me if we have it. I'm just trying to figure out what works best. If we want to lapse back into, if we look at our Zoom, this was my invitation. So the 19th at 5:30 and the 21st. So this committee, I think our last meeting is October 19th. I don't see a November meeting scheduled. But we could use that for a working meeting to bring together all the pieces we have of documentation. So, I guess the committee ends at the AGM. And there is at least an announcement that there's a committee end of term report available on the SV website. So on the 19th, next week, we could work on pulling that together and then submit it so that it's ready, at least in a draft. Nobody's provided a template to say, here's an end of committee report out. So I'm just pulling together what I think I'd like to receive on the other end of a committee. That if I'm just coming in new, these are the kinds of things. So we meet next week?
Do we
Yeah.
have any, I don't think so.
No?
No? So you're happy if I pull these kind of documents together, maybe send them out to everybody and then I submit them. I will
Yeah.
ask Josh for input and I will label everything draft, so that, everyone recognizes this wasn't a formal template. We don't have any guidance on what we need to include, but here's our best end of committee wrap up that we can pull together. Okay, I will take that, and next week I will send that out for review, and then I will just make sure it's passed on before the AGM. I appreciate your energy and popping on to an early morning. Early afternoon. Who knows? It's evening in the East Coast where I started my morning. So thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.